Hey, Cyclibetic here yet again, part 3 of my DAFNE series. So I've just completed week 3, or day 3 if you're doing a solid week version of the course. So what this day covered was how to just change your ratios and what adjustments to make regarding to exercise, and how you should give yourself injections to cover drinking. So you can start the day on the alcohol section. Sort of the DAFNE principles were, for beers you generally give yourself a little bit of insulin, but not a full amount because alcohol does bring you down. And for spirits you just don't inject through because there's no carbs in there at all. So we were also discussing the practices that we personally take. My practices differ slightly from DAFNE's, but the educators were of the opinion that it works well for you, so stick to that. I don't actually inject for beer. I drink beers and ales quite a lot. I don't bolus for them because for me the alcohol bring me down by generally as much as the carbs put me up. So I'm on a nice level plane. Then we're discussing that if I'm having a proper night out, I'll generally start on beers, move on to spirits later in the night. But we were talking about mixers then. I've always gone for full sugar mixers, which most diabetics I've spoken to this about think is a really stupid idea and I should go for sugar-free mixers. But when you really think about it, the alcohol's bringing you down. There's no carbs there to put you back up. So it makes sense to have a full sugar mixer, which again the DAFNE educators have told me, yeah, your thinking is right, we recommend full sugar mixers. Obviously if you're going for a single measure you're going to have a lot of, well say using that, if you had a single measure you're going to have a lot of full sugar coke in there, which is probably going to put you up a little bit too much. But personally when I order when I'm out, I'm always on doubles. When I'm bored at home, probably a generous double. So the amount of coke I'm having in there with it is nicely proportioned, and again just does keep me nice and level. So although my methods differ from DAFNE, it works for me. So don't take DAFNE as a given. This is how it should be done, but if you're different, everyone's diabetes is different, so if you're different from DAFNE, don't worry, it's just what works for you. In the afternoon we moved on to exercise, about how much insulin to take off on a meal if you know you've got an exercise plan, and how intensive and how long that is, and for some exercises it might be a case of take some off with your meal before, or take some carbs before. And with some really intense exercise it can be a case of adjusting your dose after the exercise as well. But me being cyclibetic, cycle a lot. I have been racing and riding for years now, so I know what works for me, which is different to DAFNE. Although what is working for me is evolving. I've moved from Lantis to Levemere now. I did start the Levemere just after my last DAFNE day, so it's been on a few days now. So I'm waiting for my body to just adjust to it before I start making any changes. That means I'm actually going to now be able to start adjusting my background insulin with regards to exercise, and it having an effect that day, which I've never been able to do with Lantis. Because usually I would just take on board carbs and things like that, and both on a race day I just won't have any fast acting, I'll just rely on my background to sort of keep me taken over for other day, which does work for me. But now being on a quicker adjusting background, I cannot wait to get into more hard day training and races, and just see how I can tweak that and just see if I can get a slightly better control out of it. So although I wouldn't say I gained a lot of new information from this week's DAFNE, it did kind of just back up what I'm doing is right. Maybe not strictly to DAFNE's principles, but it's right for me, which is the most important thing. I've been able to discuss what I do and what I implement with these educators who are my diabetic specialist nurses, and they're happy with what I'm doing, I'm happy with what I'm doing, so I'm just going to continue with it. I've got 2 more days, weeks of DAFNE's left, so hopefully I've got much more to gain from this. And like I've said in every video so far, please, if you have not done a DAFNE or DAFNE type carb counting course before, speak to your team, get yourself booked on one. It will be the best thing you do to improve your diabetes. I really cannot recommend these courses enough. So thanks for watching this. Hopefully you've watched the series so far, and hopefully you'll come back for the rest of it. So see you soon.